Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. It's time for Ocala Magazine Radio. Looks like John Sotomayor, your host of this show, and the executive editor of Ocala Magazine, is ready to start another good show. Good morning, John. How you
Good
doing?
morning, Larry. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Well, Larry, I just want to get right into it because we have a very interesting topic to cover today. Our April issue was really devoted to beauty, specifically in Ocala, Marion County. And one of the stories that we did was actually very interesting to put together. It was called The Cover-Up, and we took a look at the taboo of the tattoo in the workplace. And it was very interesting to me how actually a little bit controversial this one was to put together. A lot of people didn't really want to come up and talk, which was interesting, and I'll follow up on that a little later.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to introduce my guests first. So getting right down to it, we have Shane Pack, Director of Marketing at TJM Promotions, formerly known as Team Jedi Marketing. Good morning, Shane.
Hey, how are you, John?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
We have Stefan of Crawling Panther Tattoo.
Hello.
We have Bill Lattin of Perfectly New You.
Good morning.
Morning. And Phil Durham, graphic designer for Ocala Magazine and the originator of this story. Good morning,
How's
Bill.
it going? How you doing?
Good, good. I wanted our listeners to know some very interesting facts that our writer Olivia Hendricks found for us. I don't think many people are aware of this. For instance, did you know that JFK and Winston Churchill both had tattoos? Yeah, and tattoos were once used to smuggle secret messages across enemy lines during wartime. Sailors used tattoos as a type of resume. For instance, a turtle meant that they had crossed the equator. And also in the late 19th and 20th centuries, tattoos were a sign of wealth in aristocrats because they cost so much. Isn't that fascinating?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So, it has its cultural place and, changes in dynamics within history and culture. And I wanted our guests to talk about that a little bit. So I want to start with Shane. Shane, you were featured in the story where we looked at people who had tattoos and worked in either corporate environments or business environments,
Right.
and what that was like for them. So can you share with us some of your experiences, first telling us a little about yourself and what you do for a living?
John, I'm 27, University of Florida graduate. I work at a marketing firm here in town locally. I'm the director of marketing, and what that entails basically is a lot of web development applications. I handle advertising and both online and print, as well as search engine optimization, and a little graphic design there as well. So we handle kind of the gamut of everything. I grew up in a real small town where tattoos were extremely taboo, I guess you could say. I didn't have any friends with tattoos, and I certainly didn't have any family with tattoos. I moved down here a little bit over 10 years ago. Right after that, I strictly got into tattoos. Started about then, and there we are today.
Okay. And what fascinated you about tattoos to get that?
I think just because I didn't personally know anyone with tattoos for the better part of my life, it was strictly an art standpoint. Specifically, like Asian-centric culture, I just find their art, Hindu art, it's all beautiful stuff, and I think mostly it was based on that.
Absolutely, great. And you're an artist yourself, then?
I am, digitally. I try to do a little traditional here and there, but time's limited, so.
Okay. Now, you had an interesting transition in your job at TJM Promotions. You started as a graphic designer, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes, and then transitioned now to director level?
Director of marketing, a little over 8 years. We started a small company with 5 people, and now we're up to over 45 people. So we've definitely grown, and positions have opened themselves up, and I just kind of took the initiative to try to do that at the time.
So what is your experience like in the workplace with tattoos? Is it a problem?
Not where we work. I've had the benefit of being an internet-based company, so we don't have face-to-face meetings with our clients on a regular basis. Over the past couple of years, we've tried to obviously expand our efforts locally, and I have been meeting more and more clients locally. And I think just due to the strict corporate culture of wearing long sleeves and dressing nice and wearing ties, I haven't had really any issues whatsoever with the tattoo culture.
Well, I tried to get somebody from Human Resources to talk to us about why this would be a problem, and that's where I couldn't get someone to speak up, Larry. No one wanted to go on the record to speak up, and what I put in my editor's note at the end of the story was that we found that In the front of the house, where you're having client relations, it's not really accepted. But in the back of the house, like in a kitchen or a manufacturing area, it's fine.
Right.
Also, most people didn't want to go on the record because while their policy doesn't allow tattoos, they have a lot of clients which is okay. Either they have them themselves or their children or grandchildren have them, and so they didn't want, to cause any kind of ruckus there.
Right.
So I found this kind of a very fascinating story to cover. We actually were going over the research part of it for about 4 months. So I'm going to turn to Phil now, since Phil originated this story. Phil, we were working on this quite a while, right? About 4 months?
About 4 months or so, yes, sir.
Okay. And tell me why you wanted to do the story to begin with. What was the passion behind it?
I've always had a thing for tattoos. They're just beautiful to me. And a lot of my friends have tattoos. Few of my family members have tattoos. And, it's always been a thing. Certain jobs don't allow you to have tattoos. I know a previous job, I'm not going to mention any names, they wanted me to cover up, and which was fine, but at the same time I didn't really understand it.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of explore this because it doesn't really seem like it gets talked about. We get told not to do it, but never really explained why we can't do it. So I just kind of wanted to. I know Ocala magazines go. I've never seen anything kind of covered about this, so I wanted to kind of do that and see if I could maybe open some eyes, some minds to it.
I'm glad you did, because it was a very important story to cover. I can say from my own experience, my folks didn't want me to get a tattoo, and I don't think it was so much because they wanted me to keep my skin unmarked, but the social stigma. They just didn't want me to put myself in that position, which I could possibly not get a job or something. And not to date myself, but we were talking about maybe 25 years ago where things were a little different. It wasn't as culturally visible as it is today. So you heard Shane's account. Is it what you expected, or did you have experiences or heard of other experiences that supported the cover-up basis?
Yeah, I can understand, covering up, and I guess in a sense, out of sight, out of mind, right? Like, it's not really an issue if you can't see it, but I don't really understand why they need to be covered up as long as they're not offensive. But to each his own, I personally, I recently got a tattoo within the past 2 or 3 years ago, but before that, I had my ears pierced. You can see, I got them pierced when I was 14, and when the time I was 18, I had them out to about a 12 to 14 gauge, which still isn't really that big. But I had applied for a job and was told that I couldn't work there because of it. And I was actually lectured by the person at the time who was working or managing the place that I should have really thought about it before I tried getting a job, because now it's going to hinder me. And that always just kind of stuck with me. It's like, I might have my ears gauged, but it really doesn't affect how hard of a worker I am.
Right.
And I really that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this story.
And that actually brings up another good point, because the cover-up, we can cover our tattoos, even sleeves, but facial markings, in tattoos onto the neck, you can't hide those.
No.
So it actually adds a whole other level of kind of social stigmatism, I think.
Right. It does. So it's I don't understand it. Like I said, as long as it's not offensive, I really don't see an issue with it.
Right.
But
well, let's talk to some of our panelists who might shed some more insight on this. Stefan, and forgive me, I can't pronounce your last name. Please say it. Misi, thank you. You've also heard Shane's experience. Does that match the experiences you heard from your clients or fellow tattooed people you may know?
Oh yeah, I mean I hear it all the time. Where people they come in and they have to get permission from their better half, or they want to hide it from their parents, or I've tattooed people in visible areas, say like on the hand, and I've seen these people years later, and they'll say it really messed with them, it really caused issues at work, and I this one guy I tattooed, he has to wear he said to wear a hand brace on his hand to cover this thing for 10 years now.
His managers made him do that to keep his job.
Oh, yeah. And he regrets it, But at the time, I think he was 18 or 19. I was also much younger. And, not as experienced in tattooing, I guess. So, you know.
Do you have other stories like that where clients? had similar
Yeah,
experiences?
I've seen people too where they've gotten tattoos once again because they're young and they're feeling wild and they get something pretty crazy in a visible spot, for shock value, and then they get married and have kids, and then they have to get it covered up, or they talk about getting it removed, or how they have to wear long sleeves at school functions and things like that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, let's turn attention now to Bill. Bill Latin. For your business, you actually remove tattoos, right?
That's correct. We do permanent makeup, tattoo removal, as well as post-mastectomy, cosmetics, and lots of other things. And I'm really happy to be here today because I love celebrating the individual, and it's nice to see that tattoo culture is a lot more mainstream. So, there's a real high percentage of individuals under 30 that have tattoos. It's becoming a lot more socially acceptable, and what I do is about giving people choice. Permanent makeup is a type of tattoo. I'm giving people options as far as their physical appearance, both adding as well as removing. Sometimes they've had a paradigm shift in their life. Maybe they were 19 when they got that crazy tattoo, and now it no longer reflects them. Maybe they've had a change in relationship and they had somebody's name on them. Now they're not with that person anymore. Or maybe they're trying to get a job and they can't get that job until that tattoo's gone. So
Right.
it's all about options.
Now, you brought up an interesting thing. I think a lot of our listeners may not know, and that's with the permanent makeup. What we're talking there is permanent eyeliner, lip liner. What other kind of things that go there?
Sure, full lipstick.
Lipstick.
Lip liner, eyeliner, eyebrows, beauty marks, and then you have the what we would call medical micropigmentation, whereas we're doing scar camouflage. Let's say someone's had breast augmentation and they have scars, or they've had mastectomy and then reconstructive surgery, and now we're trying to get them back as close as we can to before they got cancer and had to go through all those things. And it's
Gotcha.
kind of the icing on the cake, the little finishing touches,
Great.
to bring them back. So
Those are all good things to have. That's a great reason to do the permanent makeup. So what are some of the things that could go wrong then, like that would need to have it reversed? Maybe it fades or something?
well, and here's where you want to make sure that you find an artist or technician who is has experience, who has a good reputation. You want to go in, whether you're going to see a tattoo artist for body art or for what I do. You want to be able to talk to them. Hopefully, it's going to be someone friendly. They're knowledgeable. The place is clean, that sort of thing. But yes. Technology has changed as far as pigments and inks, so something that was used 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago is going to be inferior a lot of times to what's out there today. They may fade, they may change color. So a lot of times it's not that the artist originally did anything wrong, but it's just that they've had a lot of sun exposure, maybe they're taking medications, and so now we want to be able to remove that permanent makeup, for example, so that we can reapply permanent makeup. Or if a lot of times I'll work with tattoo artists where they don't really want to get a quote-unquote cover-up because it's not really a cover-up, it's an incorporate.
Oh, really?
It's a lot of
Define
times
that.
bigger, darker, and maybe not even something they really want. But if I can go in and at least lighten that tattoo up enough, it's a lot easier to shoot right over it and really get more of what the client wants,
Excellent.
as far as the finishing, finished product.
Excellent. All good reasons to probably work on your tattoos or get them removed. Back to the subject at hand. Have you ever removed a tattoo because it was too taboo for the client's workplace?
Not currently. In other words, it wasn't like they were at work and they got a tattoo and the job said, oh, you need to go get rid of that or you need to cover that up. It's been more about someone trying to get a job, whether it's the industry that they're going in, or maybe they're trying to get into the military or law enforcement or something like that. But no, it's usually because they're trying to get a job rather than keep a job.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'm going to open this up to everybody in the panel now, so feel free to jump in at any time. What are some of the facts about tattoos that people should know about, but that perhaps don't? And also, I want to dispel some myths, perhaps, on tattoos. So, who wants to begin this?
I guess I could.
Sure.
I guess two common myths that I hear the most are that you got the side of the fence where people are against tattoos and they don't like them, and they feel that if you're gonna get tattooed, it's gonna turn out bad. You're gonna regret it, and you might catch a disease, you know. And then you got the other side of the fence, the young person that is getting their first tattoo. They think no matter where they go, it's going to be a good tattoo, and it's going to be clean and sterile, and everything's going to be fine. So I think both sides are, you know, it's not 100% correct, because, you know, you could walk into any shop, you know, and or not any shop, but you could walk into a shop and they could be dirty, you know, and they can reuse their needles or just not clean up properly in between customers, you know, and then you can walk out with an infection or an incurable disease.
Right.
You know?
Blood disease, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. So there's that, and then, you know, that, I guess, like I said, either side could be wrong, you know, so.
Phil, you look like you had a comment to make there.
Not really in reference to that. Just the main thing I want to stress is just because someone gets a tattoo does not make them a rebel or, you know, just a bad person in general. It means something to them. It's a way of expression, and just like if someone was to paint on a canvas, you know, it's just another form of expression. And that's what I really want to stress, is that it doesn't make us a bad person, and as far as work's concerned, it doesn't make us any less of a hard worker. And that's all I really wanted to say.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, John F. Kennedy and Winston Churchill both had tattoos, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure they're probably military tattoos.
Right.
And so that was a very common thing in the 50s and 60s to get, you know, so that's probably what happened there. So absolutely. Anybody else want to comment there on a myth to dispel, or something, a fact that people should know about but perhaps don't?
Couple things. Number one, how easy they are to get off, and how difficult they are to get off. A lot of times people think, oh, well, I can just go have it removed. Well, you can, and hey, I'll be happy to see and happy to help you. But I would say you really want to consider, especially if you're new to tattoos, if you've never gotten a tattoo, really think about it. Let it be something that's meaningful to you, rather than just being on a whim. I mean, unless it's something where there's some sort of camaraderie, and you know, you and your friend are doing it or something like that. Make it meaningful, because you know, it's kind of like a divorce. You know, it's painful and expensive. You know, and but the other thing is too, the laws about donating blood have changed. Used to be, man, if you had tattoos or had piercings, it was going to be a year or more before you could donate blood. And I remember trying to donate blood several years ago, and they just basically turned me away. And so now that's no longer the case. It doesn't take as long. And so if you are someone who likes to donate blood, don't feel like, well, I can't get a tattoo now because I'm never going to be able to donate blood again. So I just wanted to dispel that.
Yeah, and probably the biggest tattoos that people change is someone's name, like a girlfriend or boyfriend or something like that. That's probably not a good idea.
Bad omen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trendy kind of tattoos, you know, the tribal thing was out there for a while, and maybe it's not so popular today. I don't know.
Again, to each his own. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to put anything on my body unless it has meaning.
Right.
I'm not going to put on some type of logo or some band that I like or something like that. Unless it has meaning, you shouldn't put it on your body, because it's there forever. Now, as for tattoo removal, I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
I've been told by some friends that tattoo removal is painful. It can be painful.
It can be.
Sometimes even more than the tattoo itself when you originally get the tattoo.
It's possible. It depends on the individual. I use anesthetic, I use a topical anesthetic both before and during the removal process. I do not do laser. I do collagen induction therapy, which is a needling therapy similar to what you would call a dry tattoo. And it really depends on your body chemistry and how well you take anesthetic. You know, some people go to the dentist and they don't bother getting any Novocaine because it doesn't work for them. But I do my very best to minimize the discomfort. Some people feel no pain at all. Some people say it's about the same, and some people say that it's worse. But in those cases, I generally stop, apply more anesthetic, do a little test, and make sure that it's more comfortable for them. What I like about my process is that it doesn't take as many sessions as with, for example, a laser. And so, you know, hopefully we've cut the pain in half at least, because it's just, you know, fewer number, you know. Yeah.
Great. Now I want to focus again. Everybody here mentioned that tattoos should be meaningful to them. So I want to ask the guys here who do have tattoos if they'll tell us a little bit about their personal tattoos, starting with Shane.
Sure. As opposed to having a large number of individual tattoos that have a similar theme or something of that nature, I kind of worked everything in together. It's all kind of a Hindu-based theme, or just Central or Oriental in nature. Just purely based on art. I love the art forms of that region. Everything's all based works together. There's nothing that's really standoutish in there.
I see. It looks like a lotus flower. Or?
Yeah, this arm's actually not correct. There's actually just a female figure on this arm, and over here we have Ganesha and Kali and a few other figures on the side there. But it's all similar thing that I kind of want to keep things that way as opposed to having the random piece around.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Phil?
I got my first tattoo about 3 years ago when my daughter was born. Her name is Koi, actually. I've always had a thing for koi fish. They're beautiful to me. So it meant even more to get it tattooed in honor of her, to celebrate her. Still not finished. One day I'd like to get it finished, plus many, many more. But at the time, I'm pretty content with it, you know.
That's
and I look
gorgeous.
at it every day and I think about her, so it's meaningful to me in that way.
A very good reason to have it. And Stefan?
All right. I'd say out of all of my tattoos are the two on my forearms for my mom and dad. Those have the most meaning, and maybe the only ones with really any meaning. A lot of the tattoos I've gotten are just, because I looked up to a certain artist and wanted to get, a tattoo by them. But this is one for my dad, and that's one for my mom. And
very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to share something?
Yes. Most of my tattoos, which are not visible here, I got when I was in the military. And I would say that most people, unless they were intoxicated or something, they remember exactly where they were. They might even remember the music that was playing or a conversation that you were having while you were getting that tattoo done. I got my first tattoo a few blocks from here by one of my buddies when I was still in high school. And I'm actually removing that tattoo right now so that one day Stefan can, cover it with something else. But yeah, I remember everywhere I was every single time when I got a tattoo.
Great points. Thank you for sharing those things. And I want to share for our listeners, unfortunately, the women that were invited to the show today could not be here. We had 3 women, including the author of the story, Olivia Hendricks. She has tattoos, and which is why I thought she'd be perfect to assign to the story, and I'm glad I did. Also, we had Santana Daly, who participated in the story, and I've also invited Stefan's wife, Christy. So I didn't want our listeners to think that it was just a guy thing, Could some of the guys here share with what they know that, why women get tattoos or what their experiences are? Stefan, you want to start?
Sure. I think ultimately, I guess before the meaning of a tattoo, people get tattooed because, it either looks cool or it can kind of define a body part or accentuate it. A lot of women like to get, things that are pretty. And I think with women, at least the ones I tattoo, they typically do have more meaningful tattoos, where the guys are just like, I want to look tough,
right.
Give me a tattoo. But, like Christy, my wife, she's you know, all of her tattoos are very, very meaningful. I mean, they're chock full of meaning. So, you know, that's really it on that, I guess.
Good points. Anyone else?
Well, most of the what I do, especially as far as the tattooing side, permanent makeup side, is with women.
Yes.
And for me, they are coming to see me either for some sort of enhancement or because there's something missing, whether they have plucked the heck out of their eyebrows to the point where they don't really have much,
And they
now
don't grow back?
not after a while. And also, you know, as people age, a lot of times they'll start to lose them, especially on the outer edges. Or they want some sort of enhancement, you know, as people age, their lips will shrink or lose color, and so I'm helping to reestablish the borders there and make them just look more youthful and fresh and ready to go. And a lot of times people have an active lifestyle.
Right.
So these ladies are out there, they're golfing, they're swimming, they're active. Maybe they go on cruises and they don't want to have to put their eyeliner on 50 times or reapply their makeup, 20 times a day. And this allows them to still look fresh and all that. And then, of course, the other side of that is the tattoo removal. And so a lot of times we'll do they'll do something for a significant other to unfortunately prove something.
Right.
And then 6 months later, they're back having those initials or that name removed. So I would definitely urge anybody out there considering putting a name or initials on, please think long and hard about it and make sure that it's really something that you want to do.
Thank you, Bill. Well, thank you to all my guests, especially for sharing the woman's point of view there. It did tie in great that this is the beauty issue and that tattoos are a beauty thing. It's beautiful for men and women. And next week we'll be talking about the touch-ups. These will be beauty tips from head to toe. And then in 2 weeks we'll be talking about a hair salon challenge that was really dynamic in the magazine. Listeners, take a look at the magazine and we'll talk about it in 2 weeks. That's our time. Thank you very much, Larry. Thank you to all my guests today for being here.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.